Hey guys, I'm Karen. This is the Yoder Homestead, and I just wanted to share with you guys all of my seedlings that I grew this year and how everything is doing. So just kind of an update video and some things that I am making notes for myself to do differently and some things that worked really well. So let's jump in. So up here I have my tomato seedlings. These are just a bunch of different varieties of tomato seedlings and ground cherries. So this is all my determinate or semi-determinate tomatoes in this whole tray, which I'm trying to decide if once they get a little bit bigger, I might just cut one so that there's only one plant per pot, because I don't really have room to up pot these. I just wanted to make sure I have really good germination. So like here you can see I would maybe take one of these and plant it in here because there wasn't a germination there. And then here I have a spot where I could plant maybe a different variety since there's only one in each one. Then we jump down one and we have peppers. These are all of my pepper varieties. I think I have 16 varieties that I planted this year, but they're doing really well. They look really good. I did start fertilizing them. This is now the second week that I'm fertilizing. And I do that just like one day out of the week. So I pick a day and I always do it on the same day, which I'm still kind of playing around with amounts and just stuff like that. So these are all of my peppers in here. And then this is the other tray of peppers. These, I'm kind of curious now if these next set of leaves will be as purple as these ones were, but I don't know if it's a deficiency in something or what's going on. And it's just this one variety that's doing it so much. So I wasn't quite sure what that is. So I'm just going to kind of see how the next ones grow and just see how they're doing after that. But like I said, some of these I will just divide and then plant in the pots that didn't have any germination, which this one, I'm not even sure what this one is, but it only had one plant that came up, which is kind of a bummer, and I'm not quite sure why, but just stuff like that I make notes of so that I have all of that stuff for next year's information. If I plant that same seed, I only had this much germination, so maybe try plant more seeds and just see how they do, and stuff like this too. And then down here, all the way on the bottom, I have my last tray of tomatoes, and this is all my indeterminate tomatoes. They're doing really, really well. They just started forming their true leaves. So you can see here, this is the first set of leaves that a seedling starts with. And then the next set is actually what's called its true leaves. So you can see the shape is different. It's actually looking like a tomato leaf. So they're pretty much all putting that on. And once they have done that, that's when I start fertilizing. So like this coming week, I'll probably start fertilizing my tomato plants since they all pretty much have true leaves put on, or, they're growing. Like I can see little ones on each one pretty much. But yeah, so far really doing well. These take a lot of water, so I have been bottom watering them since they all germinated. This flat germinated really, really well. I was really impressed with all the seeds from this one, and so that's just stuff that I'm making note of as well. So just things like that. Just when you do seedlings, make yourself notes. It's easier when you start next year. What did really well, what didn't do really well. I'm also doing an experiment. If you can see the different light colors, this one is a lot brighter, and then these are the ones that I had last year. So doing an experiment to see how they grow, just different stuff like that. We jump over here, and this whole tray is flowers. So I have snapdragons in here. These are all snapdragons. Linaria, which I will be cutting and making sure they have room. This is that Crassopedia, I think. Didn't really have good germination with this, but I do have 2 plants in here, so I will have 3 cells of plants. And then I have forget-me-nots, which these are doing pretty good coming up. And then my onions. I was kind of disappointed in my onion germination this year. They are not nearly as full as last year was. So I just have to, I don't know if I did something different. I'm not sure, but So yeah, just things like that I keep note of. But as these grow taller, I just cut them off and then just keep letting them grow. Because once I plant them, I'll be planting and pulling these all apart for each individual plants. And then we jump down one. I did get these lights this year. They're 4-foot lights, and there's 2 on each shelving unit. Then this is all flowers as well. I have Celosia flamingo, Celosia, what is this one? Palm variety. These are Mexican sunflowers. Really, really fuzzy plants. Very, very good pollinator attractor and butterflies. So I wanted a lot of these because I'd like to do a lot of them in Viviana's little garden. And then I have some Dusty Miller in here, just some different flower varieties for my dabbling into cut flowers. We'll see how everything goes. This one is stock. These germinated really well. The Black-Eyed Susans, I only have one. I'm not quite sure what happened, but yeah. They take a while, and it did take a long time for it to germinate, but I figured by now I would have more than that. So I'm not sure what happened there. Then over here is all of my herbs, this whole tray. I have marjoram, English thyme, common oregano, true Greek oregano, which you can now see the color difference. This one has a little bit more of a bluish color in it, and then this one's a lot more chartreusey green, so pretty cool. And then I have sage plants and my rosemary plants that are slowly coming up. So I'm really, really excited. These are all going in my herb garden, my perennial herb garden that I'm doing at the new property. So I had to start a bunch of plants. And then this tray here, this is all okra. It's called red burgundy okra. Then I have 2 different kinds of eggplant varieties. I have a long purple eggplant and a black beauty eggplant. So I have 3 plants of those and 4 plants of the other one. This I just started in just this last video, is all basil, and then some lavender, hyssop, lemon balm, and mint for my herb garden. And then in here, let me grab this thing off the top. I have some more flowers. These I didn't do too long ago, but the asters are all up pretty much. The penstemon is pretty much all up. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, this might be easier. Oh no. Maybe from the top, but right here, it's little green. And then I have Nicotiana over here. This is also cut flower kind of stuff that I'm dabbling into. Then also I'm planting a bunch of zinnias and things that can go directly into the ground for cut flowers. But these are the ones that I just did seed starting with for this year. So see how everything goes. Then down here, I have my asparagus that I started. Pretty much all of them germinated. Oh, I see this one now came up too. So I think I'm missing one right here. Oops. I didn't realize when they came up, and some of them were stuck under the humidity dome. They were still little, but you can see the little wonky growth right there because it was stuck in the humidity dome and I didn't get it taken off quick enough. But they are pretty straight now, so that's really good. I feel like I'm going to run out of room for these, so I'm going to have to figure something else out for lights for those. I might just do another shelf and put the lights up higher, maybe with the okra plants that are growing taller and just different things that need a little bit more space. And then on this flat, I have cauliflower and cabbages. They're doing really well. The leaves look really good. So you can see here again is an example. These are its first leaves that they get, and then this is a true leaf for this plant. So really cool. But yeah, that's all of my seeds that I started this year. Super exciting. This whole shelf here is all new. So I only had that one last year. And so now having this one as well gave me a lot more room. And also I realized that I will not be using these again. the trays just from sliding them around last year. Taking them outside when I started to have having to harden off my plants, the trays just didn't hold up to being scooted around a lot. So I'm going to replace all of those with more Bootstrap Farmer trays. These have done amazing already. I know it's just the first season of using them, but they're super heavy duty, and I really like just knowing that I can scooch them around, move them around, and not worry about holes being put in the bottom of them or whatever. And then I actually might get the inserts for like a flat for next year, and then you can put these inside of those trays and it kind of holds them still, because some of the stuff I would start maybe in those flat styles and then just up pot them just to give them like a deeper cell. So like here's an example. This is all of this plant's root space versus these only have this much root space. So for established plants, like especially like these have a lot of root system, and for these to stay in that until I plant them out is just not gonna work. So I think I might actually get the cell flats that are the same size as this to go in these trays, but then I can up pot into these cells if a plant is getting too big, still using the same tray, and then it would actually hold these cell pots in place without them like kind of tipping over or being sideways or anything like that. The humidity domes are really big. They let the plant get pretty big before you take them off, or before you have to take them off. I always take mine off once they've, you know, the whole flat has germinated. Like this one, I'm going to take off pretty soon because the whole flat's pretty much germinated, but I like to let them get a little bit bigger. And especially if my like humidity temperature stuff is a little bit more dry in here, I just leave the humidity dome on. It just keeps them nice and moist, and it doesn't dry the leaves out. So, what else? I was trying to think of some other things that I would change. Just more lights, more shelving probably for next year, which I have a bunch of these shelves. It would just be the lights that I would need to get for next year. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, but it's exciting because like next year I'm not going to start more asparagus, and like all of my herb plants, like I'm not going to have to start more of those. I just have to do plants that are just annuals, and then that's going to allow me to have a lot more room for flowers, different varieties of vegetables, and just different things. Like it's really fun to grow your own, because like for me, I can't go to my grocery store or things like that and find these kind of varieties. And so for me, it's just really appealing to start my own, because it makes gardening a lot more fun for me to have varieties that you can't get in a store. Like I have purple tomatoes. You can't buy purple tomatoes around here in our area in a store. You can't. And so to have stuff like that, and honestly, store-bought tomatoes do not taste like homegrown tomatoes. They just don't. Like I rarely buy tomatoes during the winter because it's just disappointing. It's really disappointing to bite into a tomato and it just does not taste the same. So just things like that, it makes you look forward to the next year, and that helps me because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of prep. And just a lot of time, you know? And so for it to not be something that I'm excited to do would just not be worth it, because if I'm spending this much time, it better be on varieties that I'm excited to grow, that I'm excited to share with other people. I cannot wait for this year and people coming over to our house and friends and family being able to go in the garden and eat something they've never seen in the store. And just things like that make it so much more exciting. So yeah, I encourage you to start seeds. It does not have to be hard. It does not have to be daunting. It does not have to look like this. I mean, this is my 3rd year of starting seeds now, and I did it all in this little shelf thing that I got for $20 at Aldi. And my lights that I got, which I do have 2 on each shelf now because I felt like last year some of my plants got a little leggy with not having enough light on the shelf. But they all grew. They all grew fine. They all produced amazing amounts of food. And so it's not that big of a deal. But you can buy pretty inexpensive lights, or you can invest in really good lights. Then you only need 1 light per shelf, because if you get the high intensity, like full spectrum lights, you don't have to adjust them. You can set them on the shelf and they don't have to be closer to the plant. You don't have to adjust them or anything like that, which is what like these are. And those white ones, I don't have to adjust those. But the other 2, I did move them closer. And then as the tomato plants get bigger on the bottom, I'm going to have to move them away on like a bigger shelf. So, but yeah, start seeds. It's really fun going through seed catalogs in the winter and just being like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that I have never seen, never tasted, never grown. So it's really fun. Start small, just dabble into it, do a couple varieties, grow them in containers. Like there's so many options of growing things. And I just encourage you to try. If it is something that you want to try, there's so much just like satisfaction in going out and harvesting your own food. And I feel like everybody should learn how to do it. It's really, I don't know, it eliminates a lot of we didn't really have food shortage in our area. Yeah, there was some stuff that like shelves were empty on certain products, but it wasn't anything that like really brought fear to me, I guess I would say. But it is still really important to grow food and to know how to do it. I feel like everybody should grow a garden in some capacity, and that doesn't have to be a huge garden to start with. It just has to be something that you're growing some amount of food for you or for your family, or you know, just to have that, just to know how to do it. And it takes a few years to learn everything and to not make the same mistakes. And you know, seasons change, the garden is always different every year. And so the more that you do it in a small space, the better you're going to be equipped if you ever get to or want to have a large space. So anyway, kind of ran into a bunny trail, but it's on my heart. It's just something that I hope me making videos and sharing what I'm doing encourages someone to start seeds, to start growing a garden, to just jump into it and try it because they wanted to. Or maybe you've thought, oh, it'd be fun, but I don't know, like how much time. I encourage you to try it. Like just see if you like it, or make it be something exciting where you're growing beautiful flowers, or something that you can't find in a grocery store, or your favorite kind of tomato. Try and figure out what your favorite kind of tomato is, and you know, buy a different seed. And there's so many seeds in a pack. Like you can buy 1 pack of seeds and it can last you like 4 years of gardens, like depending on how many you even use. So like it's a very minimal investment. Soil obviously is something where if you're planting in containers, you just have to be aware of, you know, potting soil and just different things like that. But having an in-ground garden and just amending it with compost every fall, that's it. Like you don't have to do a lot more to it. Just feeding it and making sure the soil is being taken care of. But it's an amazing thing to be able to grow your own food. Go out and bring it in, preserve some of it. That's something that I did. I learned how to preserve on a small scale, just, you know, a couple pints or quarts of things at a time, just to see what I like, just to see how long it takes, how much I need, just different things like that. And in doing that, I've taught myself a lot about preserving and just different ways to preserve things. So like I have a bunch of tomatoes and peppers this year, and all of them are going to be used for something. Some of the plants might go to friends and family, but still, all of those varieties, I will have at least 2 plants of every variety in my garden. And I can't wait because I am really excited to preserve a lot of things this year. So I hope that encourages you guys. I hope it inspires you to try and start seeds. But anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thanks for checking in with me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.